Civilization 7 continues to feed us information, and this week was no different. Some mainstream news you've probably seen, but also a lot of secret stuff hidden in YouTube shorts or in videos on other platforms. Let's take a look, starting with independent powers, city-states, barbarians, and Civ 7. This short, which just released on the Civ 7 YouTube channel, is about those independent powers. And let me show you the highlights. Firstly, we see an independent power before it's had time to form, if it can, into a city-state. And our options are either to befriend it with influence, a new yield in Civ 7, or incite it to raid another civilization, but it only lasts for one turn. And these are the only initial options, the only peaceful initial options anyway, to engage with what is at this point an independent people's camp. Here you can see what one looks like. Maybe you're choosing to fight it instead. If not, it may progress and become a city-state, and here you see you can spend again that new yield influence on promoting growth, food, creating a military unit for the city-state by bolstering its military, levying one of those units, so you make it create one and then you take control of it. Permanently, by the way. Very powerful, I've played with that. And also you can incorporate these people as a city-state no longer, instead as part of your empire. You can take over their city. If, however, you choose to keep them as a suzerain, we also caught a quick look at what that might look like. Here you can see clearly a combat-focused one. Your commanders will earn 50% more experience, +1 combat strength to ranged and siege units for every city-state you're a suzerain of. They allow the trading of a specific land unit, and finally, again another benefit across empire depending on how many city-states you're the suzerain of, this time 1 combat strength for your infantry unit. And this is just one city-state. I feel like they're back in Civ 7 and they are better than ever. Let's take a look at another one with the suzerain bonus, this time more cultural. It allows the construction of a specific improvement, granting culture and food for adjacent rural tiles, extra culture to monuments for each city-state you're a suzerain of, as well as +5% production down the bottom there towards constructing wonders for each city-state suzerain. Finally, receive a free civic when you become one, and just overall good benefit. +1 policy slot, social policy slot. These seem very strong to me. I have some opinions on them as well. I'll share it at the end of the video from my brief time playing Civ 7. And finally, again, I'd just like to highlight that this information, as well as some future stuff, is available on the Civ 7 channel through their shorts, or perhaps through a reveal like this, a Machiavellian reveal, most certainly. You may have seen it already, but there is some extra information around the edges and again some new shorts that I think help to paint a full picture for what is a diplomatic and economic leader available in Civilization 7, perhaps Italian, though we haven't seen a Civ yet. Their leader agenda likes leaders who are involved with many wars, except when they're against him. Fair enough, but that's not really the focus here, to be honest. It's the juicy stuff buried here. +3 influence per age, gaining 50 gold per age, when his diplomatic action proposals, and we'll talk more about those in a minute, are accepted, or 100 when they are rejected. Does this not to you feel like a way to farm gold or influence out of the AI? Does this just not seem an exceptional way to give them a bad deal and get some yield out of them? I don't know. This thing is also very important, by the way. You can levy troops from city-states that you are not the suzerain of. So that stuff that we were talking about before, where you use influence to levy troops, you can just do it from city-states. You don't have to be their suzerain. And again, this is something that I've played with, and again, at least in the very early build, and granted not a lot of playtime with it build of Civ 7, it was very strong. So if you can just do this across the board, that seems very good to me. But my personal opinions aside, let's return to the end of the trailer where we caught a glimpse of a building. And if you follow along on X, maybe YouTube actually, I think this was, then this will look familiar to you. There was a short released about this wonder. Take a listen, it's wonderful.
Civilization 7, constructing the White Tower actually adds to the happiness of your citizens. You can gain +4 happiness in this settlement for every Civ unique tradition slotted into your government.
There you go. Civ unique traditions provide extra happiness, which will lead to celebrations and in turn, whatever effect your government type may have in Civ 7. A little bit complicated with the steps involved there, but long story short, there's a little bit more background available to that trailer than what met the eyes. Another video that was released this time on X was just a little look at the Normans, what they offer, kind of this wee cinematic overview. Forgive the quality, again, uploaded to X, re-uploaded here, I'm sorry. But if we take a look at the Civilization 7 website, we can also get more information about the Normans, a civilization that we'll be able to play, again as a reminder, in Civ 7's second age, the Age of Exploration. You can see that the unique quarter provides a free cavalry unit once it's built. The building gains happiness if it's rough and counts as a fort, and finally, another building, which gives culture adjacency with walls and again counts as a fort. The unique settler, when a town is made, gives it one of those walls, and that cavalry unit that you get for free has increased combat strength against units with less movement. Their overall benefit is that land units receive an increased movement. Wait, whoa, where did that go? Bring that back, thank you. Land units receive increased movement when embarked, and also adjacent to coast receive more combat strength. So when they're in the ocean or adjacent to coast, you'll have greater strength. And that rounds out their part, except for the fact that here you can see their civic trees, of course unique to their culture, and as a reminder with that tower we were looking at before, could provide some extra happiness if you manage to build that. But more broadly, these are civic policies unique to their civ. So everything that we've learned this week has, in my opinion, been broadly related to these: the independent people, influence, city-states, and how these mechanics interact more broadly. It's the underlying theme that I can see. We haven't seen a lot of gameplay from independence, apart from what you just saw. However, I have some playing experience with influence, thanks to my one brief 3 or 4 hour early hands-on with Civ 7 earlier this year. You can see the kind of interactions that influence requires of you are of course diplomatic ones with other players, AI players, from the early introductions through to sending an envoy and supporting a war, which will increase the war wariness on the foe, on the opponent. Not just for a war that you are involved in, but also, as you can see, just for one that is completely foreign. You can be that foreign power interfering in a foreign conflict. There are also loads of nefarious actions, probably more to be revealed later in the game, hindering civic study, hindering their agriculture, or the more simple denouncement, which I note up here can also potentially be counteracted with a positive endeavor like reconciliation, or an exchange of culture or food or other resources. I think that the system will likely be much better than we've seen in previous Civ games. At least from my limited hands-on with it, it feels good. Also, maybe potentially abusable. Again, going back to that Suzerain thing, I was able to print out a lot of free units from the nearby city-state, units that I couldn't even train because I'd focused on a completely different area of the tech tree. So there's opportunity here to truly build the spiffing, Brit, perfectly balanced game, kind of gameplay, I think, through influence. Speaking of gameplay, the Civ team will be revealing Exploration Age gameplay this week. If you're watching this video around the time of recording within 1 or 2 days, you'll be able to watch it live. And of course, I'll cover it right here on the channel with a highlights, breakdown style video after the fact. I'll work as quickly as I possibly can to turn it around without compromising on the overall quality. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you then.